Hey everyone, welcome to Adventures in Everyday Cooking, where every day can be an adventure in your kitchen. My name is Heather, and today we're gonna do pumpkin cheesecake snickerdoodles. Say what? Oh my goodness. I have been sitting on this recipe for years. I saw them on Facebook probably 2 years ago. I shared them on my timeline because I was like, oh my word, I need to make these. Well, I never made them. This year, when, the memory thing comes up, I see them in my feed and I'm like, oh my gosh, I never made those. I'm gonna remedy that because number one, snickerdoodles are my husband's favorite cookie. Pumpkin, he's not so much of a fan of, but if they're with the snickerdoodles, he'll probably love them. And cheesecake, you guys, you cannot go wrong with cheesecake. So I've never made this recipe before. The recipe comes from the Recipe Critic. I will leave a link to the original recipe in the info of this video, but you guys, this is gonna be a true adventure. I've read through the directions. I encourage you to do the same thing before you start because this actually takes an hour chill time in the refrigerator. So this isn't a throw together and get it in the oven thing. This takes some patience. So are you ready to bake along with me? Here's what you're gonna need. You're gonna need 3½ cups of all-purpose flour, 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, 1/2 cup of unsalted butter at room temperature, 1 cup of sugar, 1/2 cup of brown sugar, 3/4 cup of pumpkin puree, 1 large egg, that is 2 ounces of egg, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and for the filling, you are going to need 8 ounces of cream cheese softened, 1/4 cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And for the cinnamon sugar coating, you're gonna need 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of ground ginger, plus a dash of allspice. All right, you guys, so the first thing you're gonna wanna do is get your flour mixture ready to go. We're gonna combine the salt, the baking powder, the cinnamon, and a nutmeg all together with a whisk in a bowl. All right, and we're just gonna give it a good mix and then we're gonna set it aside for right now. The next thing we're gonna do is we are going to move to our stand mixer. And for this recipe, it will be important that you have at least a hand mixer because you really want to get your butter and your cream cheese really smoothly blended. All right, so into the bowl of your stand mixer, we are going to put our butter and it's softened to room temperature. If your room is cold, you can soften this butter underneath a hot glass or even in the microwave on the defrost setting for a couple seconds, but definitely don't melt it. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and get this butter going on medium. And then we're gonna add in all of our sugars. So we have our white sugar and our brown sugar. And we are gonna let that mix until it is nice and creamy. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and scrape down my sides just so I ensure that all of the butter has met and are very familiar with all of the sugar, because I would hate to have a big clump of butter in my cookies. Looks fantastic, so I'm gonna give it another maybe 30 seconds. Now we are going to add one at a time the rest of our ingredients. So we're gonna go ahead and add our egg, and then we're gonna let that incorporate fully before we move on. And I think I do want to scrape down because I can see some little bits of eggs sticking to the side of my mixer. All right, next we're gonna do our vanilla. And then I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the mixer while I add my pumpkin so I don't squirt it everywhere. All right, and then we are just going to get that mixed up. It's only gonna take about 30 seconds. All right, and here's a good time to stop and scrape the sides because if you can see in the close camera, we definitely have stuff stuck to the sides of our mixer. So go ahead and give that a good scrape and get all of that under there. You'll also notice that the mixture looks a little curdled. Don't worry, that's totally normal. All right, let's give it a good mix again. Okay, that's perfect. Now I'm gonna install my splash guard because everybody knows that when you start to add dry ingredients to a mixer, bad things can happen. So I'm gonna do my splash guard and I'm gonna add the flour in while it's on low, a little bit at a time, so that it can do all the work and I don't have a lot of work to do after it's done. All right, Now that it's incorporated, we're gonna drop the bowl, scrape the sides well, and let it go for like 20, 30 more seconds just to make sure that we got all of the flour incorporated well. Okay, and our dough is done. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get this into the refrigerator for 1 hour. Now, this could be the time where you'd be like, okay, now I have an hour to kill. We actually need to make the filling and then let it be in the refrigerator for an hour too. So go ahead and get this bad boy into your refrigerator, and then we will jump to the filling. All right, and for the filling, we are gonna get in a whole block of room temperature cream cheese. Again, you could put a glass bowl that has been warmed up over the top of your cream cheese to bring it to room temperature much softer, or you can put it in the microwave on defrost for a couple seconds, but definitely don't melt it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and get that started creaming, and then I'm gonna add my sugar and my vanilla. And I'm gonna turn it up to medium. All right, about 30 seconds in, I am going to scrape my bowl again. All right, and once you see your cream cheese is lump-free, you're done. And I'm gonna go ahead and transfer it to this bowl and get it in the refrigerator for 1 hour. Okay, my dough has come out. It is all chilled. It's been well over an hour. So now we're gonna do some weird stuff. Something I've never done to cookies before, but we're gonna go with it because that's what the directions say to do. So we are gonna take our cookie dough, and I have a tablespoon scoop here. If you don't have a scoop, you can definitely just guess at what a tablespoon is. And we are going to roll out a tablespoon of this cold dough. We're gonna put it on our tray and press down. And then we're gonna take a teaspoon of this stuff. And again, I'm just gonna guess. Then take another tablespoon of this stuff, do the same exact thing. So we are gonna roll it together, then we're gonna flatten it. We're going to sandwich this like this. Isn't that weird? And then we are gonna push the sides together, encasing this cookie all together. And then we're going to press down and make a flat cookie like that. So, we're gonna do that to all of this, and then we're gonna get it into a preheated oven to 350 for 10 to 15 minutes. So enjoy the little fast forward. All right, now, so as I'm doing these, I feel like the edges of these cookies are just going to separate. So I have a thought on how to do the rest of these, but let's move on and get these into the oven. So now I have my extra sugar and all of the seasonings, the allspice, the cinnamon, and the ground ginger all in a bowl. And we're just gonna mix that up just a bit. And then we're going to pour this on a plate and dunk these cookies in. Now I'm telling you right now that this is not the way that I would write this recipe. Maybe it's just me, but I don't think that I would do it like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put my sugar here, and I'll show you the way that I would prefer to do this. But because I'm trying to be a rule follower, I'll do it this way first. So now we're gonna take this cookie off of here, says the directions, and put it in our cinnamon and sugar. Now that, to me, seems counterproductive. But hey, what do I know? Okay, now that they're all covered in sugar, we're gonna get them in a 350 oven for 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so here is how I would do it. I would take my 1 tablespoon and my 2 tablespoons, and I would put them together in a nice little disc. All right, I would drop them in the cinnamon and sugar mixture. I would get my teaspoon of filling, put it right in the middle, and then I would pick this up and form it around the mixture. I mean, I'm thinking that that will work just fine. Yeah, it's gonna work just fine. Just make sure your your ball is flattened out enough, and it's kind of like filling a dumpling. You know, push it in there, bring your dough up, and look at that. Now I have a ball of snickerdoodle with cream cheese inside. That makes more sense to me than the other. And then I'll just roll it again. In fact, maybe don't roll it at the beginning. Maybe just roll it after you put it into a ball. And then put it on your tray and flatten. That makes sense. So do it that way. Okay, you guys, these took about 15 minutes in my oven, but they're out. And as you can see, the ones that were 2 pieces that I pushed together definitely have a ridge in them, while the ones that I kind of made like a dumpling are actually more cookie-like. So I'm gonna break into both of them, see what we have, and we're gonna taste them. I have not tasted these yet, because I wanted my first reaction to be on camera. So let's take the one that the directions said, and we're just gonna crack right into it. And look at that. We have a nice line of cheesecake in there, or cheesecake. Looks fantastic. So we'll put that one down, and then we'll break into one of mine. And again, let's see what we got in here. Again, a beautiful line of cheesecake in there. That means that whichever way you decide to make these cookies, my way using the dumpling method or their way using the sandwich method, they will turn out almost the same. But as you saw in that close camera, these ones do have a ridge, and these ones are really flat like a regular cookie. So let's taste them, and I'll taste one of each just because why not? All right, here we go. That's interesting. It's not super pumpkin heavy, which is definitely a good thing for those of you who don't like pumpkin, but I'm almost searching for the pumpkin. I mean, okay, I can taste the pumpkin in there, but it's very light. And the ground ginger that was on the outside of these, I was a little worried about it, but it works really well together. The cream cheese part of it, oh yeah, that bite tasted a lot more like pumpkin. It's almost, I don't know that I would call this a snickerdoodle though. It's a good cookie, but snickerdoodles are usually really cinnamon sugar forthcoming, and these are really light cinnamon sugar. Does that make sense? They're good though. I mean, I just ate half a cookie right in front of you. We'll taste my other side. Okay, the flatter of the cookie. So same amount of dough. This one is flatter than this one, and that could have been because I was making it all in my hand, but the flatter cookie does have a snickerdoodle-esque feeling to it. It's like crunchy on the outsides, and you can really taste the cinnamon and sugar in there. It almost tastes like a pumpkin bread with cream cheese and crunchy bits. It's really good, but I don't know that I would call it a snickerdoodle. I don't know that they're my favorite cookie ever. Like, I've had some other pumpkin treats that are really, really good. And because this was a little bit of a fussy recipe with the whole folding it on the inside, I don't know that I would ever make these again unless they were specifically requested. However, they are a good cookie. I just think that there are better cookies out there. Well, that's it, you guys. If you've seen this recipe on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or TikTok or wherever else, and you were curious about what they tasted like, well, here you go. This is what they taste like. I mean, you should probably try it yourself to see, but it's very light pumpkin. I've had a better cookie, but they're still a really good cookie. I don't want to put it down because there's just a lot of cookies out there that I really love, and this one is just, it's okay. It's okay, but sometimes you can't win them all, right? All right, you guys. Well, until next time, we'll see you on the next adventure. Bye.